Hi, Stuart.
All right, Mr.
Hi,
Thank you.
Stuart.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Blessing here from South Africa. I'm just getting into network engineering, Cisco wise. So I just want to find out what is the fastest way that I can learn most of these things. Apparently this afternoon, I was just learning how to use Packet Tracer and all, so that I can just get into the learning process. But as an individual, what is the fastest way that I can learn, especially on the configuration side of things?
Perfect. That question will probably be better answered by Mr. F, who is, of course, hosting us today. Today, we'll talk about how, once you've got those skills, you can leverage those skills to actually get access to the jobs that you require. And also, we'll talk about how you can acquire some of those skills through Mr. F's Academy and also some online learning that we'll talk about today. But with that, I'm going to have to stop the questions, of course, that we're doing just to get to know each other and formally start our session today. Mr. F, if I can ask that you mute everyone so that we make good use of the time that we have. For those of you who are joining live, thank you very much for joining. Today's session is all about you. You as a professional, you as a student, you as a job seeker, and possibly you as a leader of your own business, and how you're looking to leverage LinkedIn to position the products, the services, and the solutions you offer, or to position yourself as a professional so that recruiters can find you. In order for us to get started on this, I thought we'd start off with a video just to add a little bit of tempo to this and to start highlighting some of the critical things that you need to have on your LinkedIn profile that will help you become successful. So with that, let's start off with a quick video, and then we'll get started in terms of our actual presentation. So for the presentation, there'll be a lot I'll share. I'm not asking you to remember every single thing, but I'll highlight some of the things that I believe are important. So let us start with our video, and then we'll get started. All right. As tech would do, here we go. Great. I know it's tail end of the day for some of you and some of the geographies that you're joining, and that's why I thought let's start off with a video, something a little bit upbeat and high tempo. But first, before we even get into that, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Stuart Samkange, proudly originally from Zimbabwe, currently based here in Dublin, Ireland, working for LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, I partner up with them to help higher educational institutions, non-government organizations such as nonprofits, foundations, and of course the healthcare sector. I help them with a number of initiatives, such as how they brand themselves, how they attract talent, and how they brand themselves to provide services for their stakeholders. But for the purposes of today, I'll be putting on my graduate activation program hat, which means my mindset will be how we help professionals, particularly those of you who are students in Mr. F's Academy, and those of you who are transitioning professionals, to build out your profiles and to really leverage LinkedIn to engage those who can recruit you, those who can recommend you, and of course, those who can buy your products and services. I know some of you here are joining, particularly because you want to know how to find jobs, but there are others who are joining this and are looking for opportunities as entrepreneurs. What you can expect in terms of what we'll cover today is we'll look at LinkedIn from both lenses. So I'll talk about certain capabilities, and it's up to you to decide on the journey that you're on as an individual to say, as I build this out as an individual, am I looking to engage recruiters, or am I looking to engage those who can buy my products, services, or solutions? What else you can expect in this session is that we'll demystify what LinkedIn is. We'll talk about the differences between your LinkedIn profile and the traditional resumes and the other ways that we used to go about searching for jobs. I'm also going to be sharing some best practices and some free tips that will be available to you after this course. So this session, it's not about you memorizing everything, because you will get access to some of these best practices, but it's really to engage you in a conversation where we start talking about the things you're struggling with and are helping you answer those questions. In terms of timeline and expectations, LinkedIn, there is quite a bit to cover, but what I'd like to do is use the presentation time to talk about how we build out your profiles. After that, I want to get into an interactive session where I actually show you how that data we've put into our LinkedIn profiles, how it's used by recruiters, and where the jobs are. In terms of jobs, I'll be looking at two specific jobs. The jobs will be associated, of course, with the training that you're getting from Mr. F's Academy. So we'll look at networking jobs, and we'll also look at cybersecurity jobs. But then again, for some of you who are not in that journey, it doesn't mean that data doesn't exist, but today's session is specifically aimed at enabling those who are in that space. If you have questions, because there's a lot to share, don't hold on until the end. Type them into the chat. Mr. F will help me every now and again. When I take a break, we will stop in and take some of your questions. Most of the questions, we'll leave them to the end of the session so that we can have more time to explain. So in terms of LinkedIn, and allow me 1 second just to get rid of this floating control so that you can see the screen clearly. In terms of demystifying LinkedIn, which is where I wanted us to start this conversation, is that a lot of us are on social media platforms. And on these different platforms, we're using it to share with the world the various things that we're doing. It could be from sharing with our friends, sharing what we're listening to, sharing what we're reading, sharing great photographs. And in this particular example, I'm using the illustration of donuts because, again, all of us know donuts, and I happen to like donuts. So if I was on these social media platforms, how would I communicate and what sort of things would I be sharing through those platforms? Now, taking my likeness for donuts, as I said earlier on, if I was to transition onto LinkedIn, I can still talk about donuts, but my mindset, what I aim to do is different. I'm looking to engage like-minded professionals. I'm looking to share my own thought leadership about donuts. I might be looking to share recipes or other ways that people in the industry can either improve in terms of efficiency of production of donuts, for example. So what am I saying? In a nutshell, what I am saying is that on LinkedIn, we tend to use a more professional voice because our aspirations and the purpose that we spend time on LinkedIn is ultimately to facilitate better economic outcomes in our careers. So on LinkedIn, we're looking to connect with like-minded professionals. We're looking to share our thought leadership, and we're looking to engage with those who can help hire us in the world of work. As we talk about LinkedIn, I thought also it's important to reflect on how we spend our time, particularly those of you who might be job seeking right now. We need to make time for leveraging, I think the meeting is being recorded. So I'm just going to switch off that recording that had popped up on screen. Hopefully you can still see my screen. This session is being recorded. I kindly ask you not to click record from your end. It will be shared afterwards. But back to what I was saying. In terms of how we spend our time, if we're earnestly looking for new economic opportunities, whether it be jobs or opportunities to grow into leadership or to present ourselves as entrepreneurs, we need to evaluate how we use our time. And there's a lot of distractions around us in terms of how we leverage and use our time. I dug into this a little bit deeper in terms of where do people go in terms of using their time, and what do they do on those specific platforms? Now, if you have a look at these top 3 platforms, which today some of you are leveraging, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, people are getting onto these platforms with different intentions. But what matters, I think, ultimately, in terms of the conversation we're having today, is that the things that will help you gain access to economic opportunities, help your financial status, help network you with those who can influence your career, those things, and where to best spend that time is right here on LinkedIn. So that's why we're having this discussion, because what we're trying to do for ourselves is again to look at how we leverage our time if we're earnestly looking for jobs, or if we're looking to connect with those who can buy our solutions, or we're looking to find talent out there if we're in the hiring space. So 3 things that LinkedIn can do for us in a simple nutshell. Number 1, we don't just go onto LinkedIn to look for jobs. Yes, there are jobs on LinkedIn. That's a fact. You will get hired. And I'll share some of the stats in terms of how successful we have been in helping people to get hired. We go onto LinkedIn as professionals to stay informed on the industries we're in. So one of the questions Tinashe asked at the beginning of this session was, how do I accelerate my propensity of being discovered and being found by those who can give me access to economic opportunities, such as recruiters, such as talent acquisition professionals? How do I get them to look for me? How do I become the magnet, right? And how we do that is, of course, by sharing with the world not only our education, our certification, and our skills, but we get to share our thought leadership. How do we share thought leadership? It starts from how we engage every day. You and I, every day, have an opportunity to learn something new. We're a student of life. But at the same time, you and I have an opportunity to share with the world, to teach. So on LinkedIn, we go in to stay informed about what's happening in our industries. And on LinkedIn, we get to share some of the things we've invested in or some of the things that we have learned. So let me give you a simple illustration. No matter which country you're in right now, if I said we need a wireless network for our office, you and I are investing in a business. If right now I said, which telecommunications company should we use? You're already thinking of a brand. And why is that? That's because that organization systematically advertises on a regular basis about their products. But it doesn't make you go out and buy a wireless network or buy airtime immediately. But they're living rent-free in your head. So as we start thinking about our own personal profiles, we need to go beyond a profile. So not just create a profile and sit and wait for jobs to come to us, but to share thought leadership, to engage those who can influence our careers and our trajectory. How do we do that on LinkedIn? There's various ways. You don't always have to post content. You can engage with other people's content, or you can join groups on LinkedIn that will help you stay informed. And as you read, as you learn, you share with your network. You want to go viral on LinkedIn? Educate your network, empower your network, help them grow in the things that they do, so much so that you become a perceived subject matter expert, where if an opportunity becomes available, someone is going to turn around and say, I know someone who's always posting on LinkedIn, hold on. And that's how you become referred. If I speak about my own career journey, worked for Microsoft, IBM, SAP, Oracle, to be honest with you, yes, it's a God-given career, but the last 4 jobs I've had, including coming to LinkedIn, was not because I applied, but because I was leveraging the platform to share and engage with my network what I have learned. And then people make references and say, I know someone who's great at this. And that's how those organizations found me. So what we're looking to ultimately do here is to ensure that we become the talent magnet. We get recruiters to reach out to us. In terms of LinkedIn and why you should, I think, continue to invest time, because on all those other social media platforms we're looking at, We are spending time. Do you hear the difference there? Spending time, investing time. Now, to invest in our future, you can see here that over the last 5 years, in terms of industry assessment, when they think about credible information and they think about member safety, LinkedIn is the place. Because on LinkedIn, we are connected to people we know, people we studied with, people we worked with. And we're using our real name, real schools. It's not like the other platforms, I won't say them. It's not like the other platforms where we can use pseudonyms or other things like that. Why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because as you build out your profile, I want you to be authentic. I want you to be honest. There could be a temptation to maybe add a little bit more than what we've actually achieved. But I want you to be honest because, again, remember, we're honestly connected to the people we know, people we studied with, and people that we've worked with in the past. The other reason why we're doing this session for you, and I know you're sitting there eagerly waiting to get into how to build your profile, but I wanted to put context on why we're doing this. We're doing this because the world around us has changed. We're doing this to inform you how you can go beyond that profile and acquire the right skills that will give you access to those opportunities. We're doing it again because the world of work and how we get work has changed. It's not about going to an agency or replying to an advert. It's about us now thinking broadly about how we work. Could it be a job in country? Could it be a job remotely? I'm still living in the same country, but servicing a different marketplace. Or could it be an aspiration that I'm leaving the current country I'm in and I'm looking for specific jobs in different economies? As I said, at the end of this session, I'm going to do something really special for you. I'm going to open up the LinkedIn Insights and show you that if you invest time in doing the networking skills that they're offering with Mr. F's Academy, if you do the cybersecurity skills and training that they're offering, I will show you where the jobs are in Africa, and I will show you where the jobs are outside of Africa. And I'll show you also what skills matter beyond what you're being offered so that holistically you can go after these economic opportunities. So let us proceed. Ultimately, I'm here and LinkedIn, we're here to help you get access to new economic opportunities. And not only opportunities in the sense of jobs. I want you to think beyond jobs. Because here's the thing, our LinkedIn profiles, this is probably the most valuable internet real estate you and I will ever own. Why? Because we own it when we're students, when we become employees, when we become leaders, when we become entrepreneurs, and when we retire. Again, when those companies are looking for board members, where do you think they look? They look here on the professional network where they can find your references and the companies that you've worked for. So let's own our profiles and let's go forth together to build out a professional brand story. Mr. F, do we have any questions so that I can take one question before we continue as people consume what's on screen right now?
So far, no questions in the chat, but guys, feel free to ask questions as we go. Whenever Stuart presents on a particular topic of interest or something that you may want to have a question or two about, please just drop the question in the chat, and then we'll be picking up the questions as we go. Thank you.
Superb. We'll keep it in the chat. And like I said, I'll take breaks and respond to your questions. But I wanted to demystify LinkedIn for you one more time and give you some numbers that will help you understand why we're doing this and why it pays for us to invest time in building out great profiles for ourselves. What is LinkedIn in terms of numbers? There are over 930 million members on LinkedIn. What does this mean to you? As a job seeker, as a student, as an aspiring entrepreneur, this means that you can look at profiles of those who are like-minded or those in industries or those that you're looking to do business with or those you want to hire you. By looking at professionals' profiles on LinkedIn, we get to understand how they're crafting out their story. So if you do aspire to be head of cybersecurity at a bank, look at profiles of leaders in banks with cybersecurity experience. What are the skills have they acquired? How do they tell their story? How are they measured? What are the impact and the results that they're highlighting? Because this will help you start defining your own personal story. But like I said, let's be authentic. We'll tell our true story. We may borrow a word or two from other people in terms of how to express that story, but ultimately it should be an authentic story of the story of us. Next, 59 million companies. Here's my encouragement for you. While you're on the platform, as you seek to look for jobs or to sell products and services, which companies do you want to do business with? Which companies do you want to work for? Follow them on LinkedIn. Because when you reach out to a recruiter or a recruiter is looking at your profile, one of the things they'll check is, do you follow us? And do you follow our competitors? Because it's telling me what shapes your thinking. In terms of LinkedIn, right? When you wake up in the morning and you reach out for your phone, right? That's the first thing we do. No, actually, correction. I reach out for my wife, I say good morning, then I reach out for my phone. And when I do, I first go onto LinkedIn. Why? Because I see people I know, I see jobs, I learn about the industry, I learn about new terminologies, new challenges. I engage with those that I've done business with and those that I want to do business with. I follow certain companies that I want to do business with, and when they post, I get to see that. Likewise, the people I'm connected with, when they post content, I get to see that. Why am I sharing this with you? Two reasons. One, typically when we get onto social media, we connect with everyone because the other social platforms are encouraging us to just have many people following us. But LinkedIn is not like that. It's not a popularity game. No, it's not that. It's not about how many people you follow. It's about the quality of people you follow. That's why I'm saying when you wake up in the morning, you should be reaching out for your LinkedIn to understand what's happening in your industry, in your world, so that when you're given an opportunity to be interviewed, you know what's been happening in that company. You know the type of things that they've been posting about, the types of challenges, the types of customers they're servicing. You know who they compete with, and you're better positioned to talk with credibility about why you're interested in working in that company. So here's the simple advice. When we started our journey on LinkedIn, we connected with family, friends, and anyone we knew. You have an opportunity now to wean off those who are not in our industry, those who might not be contributing to things that will help our future career. Don't worry, LinkedIn won't tell them that you're disconnected from them. But what we are doing for ourselves is ensuring we're following the companies we want to work for, we are following or are connected to the people who matter in terms of our career, our skills, and the industries we're interested in, because that's what ultimately determines the feed you're getting on LinkedIn. So if in the morning you're not reaching out for your phone to read content on LinkedIn, it's because maybe you're following the wrong people, wrong industries, you're not in the right groups. So let's make it work for ourselves. Next, there's over 11 million jobs on this platform. How is this useful to you? Well, as we start thinking about building out our profiles, you can take a step and look at those jobs. How are they describing those jobs? What kind of skills are they looking for? And maybe what kind of keywords do they keep repeating? Because as we build out our own profiles, we want to use language that is similar to the job descriptions, but only if we authentically have those skills. So I'm not asking us to lie. I'm asking us to use language that is used in job descriptions in terms of activities, results, and measurements, so that ultimately, when they're searching for us, those keywords surface us. Or alternatively, when they use the applicant tracking solution and they're looking for keywords to shortlist candidates, our profiles stand out. What else we'll see on LinkedIn is, of course, skills. What are the skills other people are growing? And with in mind those skills, we start making those investments in ourselves. Now, does LinkedIn work? Does it deliver results? Here's 3 quick numbers for you. 1, 4 million people in the last 12 months were hired off LinkedIn. break it down a little bit further. That means every single minute, 8 people were getting jobs. There's 11 million jobs on the platform at any given time, which means there is a job for you. But one last stat that will make you sit up is that every second, hear me clearly now, 3 new people are joining on LinkedIn. That means we need to go beyond our profile, or we stand the risk of just being one of the thousands and millions on the platform that have static profiles. Unlike a resume, this is not a static document. Your life is not static, and nor is your career. You're making investments in yourself, you're growing skills in yourself, you're learning more about industries, you're sharing content. You know what? LinkedIn is the digital billboard story of you. Did you hear me? Digital billboard story of you. It's dynamic. The things that you studied might not be the careers you're after. The journey you're on right now might need you to explain a little bit, and this is where we do it on LinkedIn. A static document such as a resume doesn't have references. A static document as a resume doesn't have audio visual. A static document like a resume does not have recommendations, people endorsing you. And this is what your LinkedIn profile will do, is that it will provide a vibrant environment for the recruiter to quickly see your skills, your experience, your expertise, and also to get a sense of who you've worked with, who's recommended you, and what journey you've been on. So let's talk about a LinkedIn profile and show you why everything that we do in our profile, what it ultimately does in terms of informing recruiters about ourselves. I decided to use an example of Simbarashe, who's just created a LinkedIn profile. So he'll put in his education, his location, he'll start establishing his networking, connecting with people he knows. This is his identity. That's the very basics in terms of establishing his identity. His name, starts connecting with people, puts in his education, and then starts adding areas of interest and skills. That starts telling the story of your identity. The next part is that Simbarashe spends time on the platform. He starts following certain thought leaders. He starts, again, investing in himself and getting skills and certificates and adding those to his profile. In terms of what he's doing on the platform, he's finding other like-minded professionals, doing informational interviews to find out, what would it take for me to get into a role like yours? What other skills should I invest in? He's also beginning to seek advice from professionals, such as those who provide counseling and career services. At the same time, because he's on the network, he's sharing what he's learned. Like I said, every day you have an opportunity to be a student, but more powerful, you have an opportunity to teach. I give you a challenge, right? After this session, what is it you're going to teach someone else? Because there's nothing here that we're teaching that's a secret. That's my challenge for you. Let's get back to this. Simbarashe also then starts carefully following organizations that are looking for network administrators, because he knows when a recruiter looks at his profile, that recruiter is going to want to understand what influences you, who do you follow, and where do you get your knowledge from. Then ultimately, he starts exhibiting his intent. His intent is then understood by those who recruit, such as hiring managers, talent acquisition people, headhunters, and recruiters. They start understanding his intent based on the activities that he's doing on the network, based on the activities that he's adding on from a volunteer experience that tells the story of who he is beyond the professional. You heard me there mention volunteer experience. A lot of you, if I look on your LinkedIn profiles right now, I'll probably find that you haven't put in volunteer experience. But here's the thing. I've worked over the last 5 years with recruiters as much as I've worked with you as job seekers, as professionals who are transitioning. And one thing they have told me is that from a recruitment perspective, as much as we like your skills, experience, and your certifications, we want to understand you holistically. So your volunteer experience matters. Why? Because these are the things we contribute to the world for no commercial gain. And Remember, companies are doing social corporate responsible activities. Governments are doing the same thing. They're helping children, they're helping animals. There's all sorts of activities. And remember this, if we're job hunting, what is going to really help us is having a rich network of people that can recommend us, give us endorsements and access to those who are hiring. I spoke just now about volunteering. So if you join Rotary, Lions Club, Red Cross, or any other institution where you can volunteer, you'll probably find that there's professionals that are in those organizations that are already employed and are happy in their careers. And as you volunteer, whether it's cleaning up the police station or helping out paint a school classroom, as you do that, you're networking. And when you're networking there, they're going to ask you, young man, what do you do for a living? Actually, sir, good question you've asked. I'm studying to become a network administrator. But as I do that journey, can we exchange details? He's going to say, oh yeah, here's my business card. What are you going to say? I don't have a card. Well, guess what? You can share your LinkedIn profile right there and connect with someone. Why? Because on your profile, it'll highlight your skills, your experience. It'll highlight the projects that you've worked on. It'll talk about the journey you are on right now. The fact that you're looking for economic opportunities, you're looking for a job. It'll be done for you. What's more, for you, because I've connected with that person, that's one more person in that organization who can give me access to someone who can actually hire me. If I haven't made the point on why we should have active LinkedIn profiles, then I guess I am not really good at what I do. But essentially what we want to do is build for ourselves a dynamic profile that represents the story and the journey we are on as young professionals or transitioning professionals or as job seekers or as entrepreneurs. So if some of you have opened your profile in the past and it looks like the one on the left, there's work to be done. And I'm here to help you on what work we're going to do. If your profile is like the one on the right, where you've got an existing profile, I'm going to highlight a couple of things that you can do to help improve the quality of your profile and also the experience people will have when they go onto your profile. That's what we're covering in this session. Lee, do we have any questions right now? And if we don't, allow me to proceed.
Right. While we're waiting for somebody to drop a question, I just want to comment on one or two things that you mentioned there. I've trained and mentored thousands of young people, but I think where we are a bit guilty or maybe we're a bit naive is that we do not advertise ourselves as much as we should. Stuart did mention that your profile is your billboard, right? And companies want to know, what experience do you have? Okay, fine. You say you're CCNA certified. What experience do you have? People just don't go and talk about what they've done. I've got a young man that I trained. He was telling me a story about, going to the Anglican Cathedral Mothers Union's offices, right? And helping them to set up their network properly. He actually made networking cables. He connected their Wi-Fi nicely and he did all these things. But having said that, did this young man go and post this on his LinkedIn profile? No, he didn't, But if you look at his Facebook profile, every month somebody's posting, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. But does that put money in your pocket? No, it doesn't, right? But Stuart talked about LinkedIn being a platform where you can invest in yourself. And recruiters have been in a bunch of interviews in England. Recruiters want to know, what kind of a person are you? So if you're going to go and help, Mothers Union set up their network for free, not only is that giving you experience from a networking point of view, but from a person who is prepared to do community service, who is prepared to help people, that is an excellent way of marketing yourself. So yeah, please get on, Stuart, but I think we're missing the ball. I'm guilty sometimes because I don't say out there on my profile most of the good things that I do in terms of networking. So guys, let's take note. And like Stuart said, after this session is about do you take action,
Mhm.
you know, to make sure that your profile is your billboard and it's advertising you in the way that it's supposed to? Thank you.
Perfect. All right. So that's it. Another example of course, making sure that we're telling those stories. And of course, some of us were raised not to brag. But really, I want to leave you with a quote here before we carry on. In the era we're in right now, the time we're living right now, ability without visibility is an inability. Did you hear me? Your ability without visibility is an inability. How are people going to find you if you don't tell them? How are people going to connect you with opportunities if they don't know? And that's why I said our profiles are a digital billboard. We're constantly going to change the story we're telling because the journeys we're on, the skills we're investing in, the results we're having, the impact we're creating in the world will change. So now let's start talking about your individual profile and what you should actually put in your profile. As you build out that profile, you want to stop and think to yourself, what are the things that excite you? What gets you up in the morning? What kind of dream job are you looking for? So what are you passionate about? Next, you might want to start thinking about your career goals in terms of where you see yourself, like they say, in the next 5 years. That's probably too long. Because what we're seeing in the world of work is people on average are staying 3 to 4 years. So you're constantly going to be looking for jobs. This is how the current world of work is right now. So with that in mind, if you're going to be constantly in the market for opportunities, you also need to have a lifelong learning culture so that as change comes, and some of that change is not driven by you, companies will fold, strategies will change. As that change happens, you're in a position to move on to the next thing. What else you might want to think about is what you're good at. And here I give you an exercise. Maybe look at your LinkedIn profile and see what skills have people endorsed you in. Or turn around to people who know you well. What are the top 3 things that you professionally know me for? Because that will help you start understanding how to craft out your story. And then at the same time, in terms of that humble brag we're doing, what gives us credibility? Do we have proof? Do we have results? Do we have certificates to show that will add to the credibility of that story? So as I said, in terms of fleshing out how to build out this profile, there's a couple of things that you want to have in mind. Some of these questions that you can use to provoke the thinking and how you get to the final decision of how to tell your story are up on the screen. I won't go through each of the questions because I know you can read and write, and you will get these slides afterwards. Let us continue. So ultimately, we want to make the job of the recruiter easy. Because here's the reality. We're not looking to write an autobiography. We're not looking to write our life story. What we're looking to do is to put credible information that makes it easier for recruiters or for applicant tracking systems to identify us. We need to position our value. In fact, the best way to think about this, and if Mr. F will allow me, I'll talk about my favorite music, hip hop, right? There's a man in hip hop known as Sean Carter, right? Maybe some of you know him as Jay-Z. Now, you would have noticed over time, he changed how he dressed from sagging jeans, white t-shirts, gold chains, New York cap. He started wearing suits. And a reporter asked him and said, what's going on? Why have you changed? You know, we're hearing now you're putting up buildings. We're here now, you've got clothes, you've got music, you've got a streaming platform. Are you trying to do business? And Jay-Z said, I'm not trying to do business. I am the business man. He separated those 2 words. I am the business man. You are a business. The best way to think about how you create your own brand is to treat yourself as a business. And the way companies treat their businesses is they're constantly investing in it. They're making sure people simply understand what products, services, and solutions they offer. They make it simple for people to understand what type of results they'll get if you buy products, services, and solutions from a company. So if you're a business of one, how are you telling that story and making it simple for people to interact with you and understand what value you bring to them, what value you can add on top of what they've already got? So ask yourself those questions as you start building out your profile. In terms of our LinkedIn profile, we've already demystified the difference between it and a resume. Ultimately here, we get to highlight some of the things that we're being recognized for. We get to attract opportunities to ourselves and at the same time establish who we really are based on credible proof points. Let's look at what are the things we need to do. Number one, simple one, easy one, but people struggle with it, is having a great welcoming photograph. Doesn't have to be in a studio. You've got a smartphone. When it comes to your LinkedIn profile photograph, it's important because you wouldn't connect with a stranger in the real world unless you could identify them. We meet so many people in life. Maybe I remember you visually, but I might not be able to tell the difference if there's 3 or 4 people with a similar name, because all of you haven't put in profile photographs. So put in a nice, warm, welcoming smile. Use your smartphone, because here's the results we're getting. When you have a profile photograph, you're likely to get 21 times more profile views. It's that simple. And what we're also beginning to see with this profile photograph is that this particular individual has opened themselves to work. So you see the green badge here that says open to work. I will show you how we activate that on LinkedIn and how you can leverage that to tell the story of what types of jobs you're interested in, which locations you'd like to work in, what kind of titles, and of course, the types of work that you are keen on. So it starts with just a profile photograph. Our eyes will process images a lot faster than we'll process text. Let's move on. Next, because we're in a global economy, and some of us have been given our native names, it might be difficult for other people to say them. So make it easy for them. You're looking for global jobs, aren't you? So on LinkedIn, you have an opportunity, take your phone out, record how you want people to pronounce your name. It's a global economy, and it's quite easy to do. Next, your location matters, particularly those of you who have had LinkedIn profiles for a long time. Why? Because every single week, there's searches of up to 300,000 that are being done based on location and based on industry. So your location and your industry matter, because when recruiters are searching for talent, they're looking for people with industry knowledge, or they're looking for people within a geographical location. And this is why I said it's important for us to be authentic and say where we are. There's no point in you lying that you're in the UK and yet you're sitting in Zimbabwe or Zambia. So what you'd rather do is say, I'm sitting in Zambia, but I'm keen for jobs in UK, Ireland, China, or the US. There's a place to do that. Likewise, on industry, the industry you're in right now, what is it? Because like we said, this is how recruiters go about identifying and shortlisting talent. Next, if you were to do a search on LinkedIn right now with your phone, you would see my profile face or the profile photograph. You would then see my name and then a really, really powerful one that a lot of us underestimate is your headline. What is a headline? This is where you have the opportunity to tell the world where you are right now, what journey you're on, what you're doing from a professional perspective, maybe what differentiates you from the next person. What is going to engage people to want to read more about you? So your headline. If you don't update this as an individual, LinkedIn will look at the last job title you've had, and that's what they'll put in as a headline. Now, if you want to edit this or edit anything else that we're covering today, all you need to do is to go to your profile. You'll see a small pencil mark underneath your name where you can now put in a more compelling headline. And in terms of headline, I know some of us are looking for jobs. This is not where you put in and say, I'm desperately looking for a job. No, no, no. There's a place for that. Remember, I told you and I showed you there's a badge that you can attach to your profile. What we want to highlight here is our critical skills that would bring value to that organization or to a recruiter in the form of our headline. So I'm a network administrator with a keen interest in financial services. That will get someone to go, oh, tell me more. Then they read the rest of your profile. And there, they'll also see that you're currently open for new economic opportunities and that you're looking for work. So headlines are super important. If you can relate to industry terminologies or titles, or what your purpose, your passion, or what you can contribute in that headline, it will help you draw people. Next, in terms of your education, you've been to schools, you've been to colleges, and you continue to educate yourself, such as going through Mr. F's Academy. What you have as an opportunity is on LinkedIn is to ensure that the logo of that institution is showing against your education. Why is that important? Because if I say I went to University of Zimbabwe and the logo shows up on my profile, when someone is looking to recruit people that went to the University of Zimbabwe, they will find me. Alternatively, you as a job seeker can look at the institution where you studied and leverage those alumni to start getting access to opportunities. Your alumni, the people you network with, are not necessarily the people who can hire you, but are the people who can recommend you or at least start giving you some insights into how you position yourself better for those opportunities. Now, here's a summary of what your LinkedIn top fold should look like. A warm, welcoming smile, as we can see there. And remember, most people are going to see your LinkedIn using a mobile device. So you don't have to dress up or stand behind a podium or sit behind a desk. You want to make it easy for people to recognize you. I'll give you a simple tip. For example, on my profile, I've chosen a black and white photograph. Why? Well, people, you and I, on average, every single day, we scroll on our phones through a mile of content. I've chosen a black and white photograph purposefully because I know there'll come a time when there's an opportunity and someone will say, I follow a guy on LinkedIn. He's always posting about this. Hold on. They'll scroll through that phone and quickly they go, oh, there he is, and then make that recommendation. You can use color photographs. It's all up to you. Next. As you can see with James, he's put in a pronunciation of his name. He's put in the location where he's currently working. With James, he's chosen to put in his email address, chosen to put in his phone details, or you can choose to put in your birth date and other things. Now, what you put in on your LinkedIn profile, you control. You can choose who sees your email address, who sees your phone number, or who sees your volunteer experience or your education. That's up to you. We give you that control because we want to make it a safe environment for you as a member. If you cannot control what people see, then there would be no LinkedIn. So that's why we give you the opportunity to control everything on your profile. Next, in terms of James' profile, what can we see? We can see the organization he's working with, and we see the logo, where he studied. We see James has also put in a background photograph on his profile. It's such valuable real estate. You're a systems administrator, you're a network administrator, you're a cybersecurity specialist. What photograph can you put, or what image can you put in the background of your profile that will start helping to tell people, to educate people, to make people understand your passion, your purpose, or to make you even curious more about that person? Now, if you look at my profile, you'll see a set of books. Yet I've worked for technology companies all of my life. Why? My father was in the book industry. I read paperback books. As much as I listen to podcasts, listen to digital tech, I also love the feel of a book. What's more, I work in higher education, and those that I interact with are more senior, and they can resonate with it. So there's a story to be told. So in terms of your profile, here's something I'd like you to think about. Maya Angelou puts it this way, right? She says, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So on LinkedIn, We're dealing with human beings. We're interacting, we're positioning our brand for other human beings to consume. So how do we make them begin to understand who we are and what we stand for? And that's why I was saying again, from a LinkedIn profile, it's your story, no one else's. And that's why when we write our profile summary, we talk about us. We don't make it a third-party story of Stuart is a great employee, he's consistent, he's diligent. No, it's my story. Own your story, own your brand. And of course, leverage some of these tips that I'm giving you. Next, in terms of what else you can do on your LinkedIn profile, is add in your work experience. Your work experience should not be a laundry list of your daily activities. Nobody wants to read that, right? What it should be, however, is number one, it has a clear business title. From that business title, people can usually infer what you did on a daily basis. But what you want to put in the work experience is a small outline of the organization you are working for. So was it a family business? Was it a large corporate? Was it a nonprofit? Was it a social enterprise? Who were they? Who are they? Because remember, we have 930 million people that are looking at our profiles. And as they look at our profiles, they don't know the company you've worked for. They've never been to your country. So 2 lines about that organization. Next, we want to outline what we specifically did in the role. What value, results, impact did we bring in that role? And where we can use industry terminology. Remember, we've looked at job descriptions. Where we can use some of that language, it will help fortify your profile for discovery. So it's not a laundry list of what you do every day. It is rather highlighting results, impact, and skills that you acquired when you did that role. So look back at all the roles that you've played, all the roles you've put on LinkedIn, if you have a profile, and how does that tell a consistent story of the journey you have been on as a young professional, as a seasoned professional, as a job hunter? Mr. F, I think I skipped one part before I went to work experience here in terms of my slides, is one of the things that's really critical, and one place where I've seen people struggle is telling their summary. So if you look at a profile, like we're looking just now, we saw the top fold of some of the things that we should have in a profile. So let me just step back here. These are the things we said are essential, but I didn't cover the summary, which is where most people tend to struggle. And I will cover that shortly. So I haven't forgotten about it.
And if you can allow me to also comment about the profile at some points.
Sure, go ahead.
Right, I've got an interesting story. My daughter is—
as long as it's a short one, because we need to
very
get
short. My daughter is doing
people where
A-level.
the jobs are.
My daughter is doing A-level, and I was telling her, look, you don't have a LinkedIn profile. You need one, So apparently she attended a workshop in Manchester about apprenticeships. So all the big guys were there, like Cisco, Amazon, what have you. So yeah. I told her that you now need to create a LinkedIn profile, go on that profile, comment about that workshop. And guess what? She went on that profile and she commented about that workshop, because Stuart was talking about, posting about the experiences. And guess what? Because she mentioned the name of the organization, she came back to me and said, oh, they actually replied me, and said, thanks for attending this workshop. And now, because she attended that first workshop, she's got a gold badge and she's got a priority for attending further apprenticeship workshops. And also, when she created that profile, she put up a profile picture. And I told her, wrong picture. You see, there's a saying that says a picture says 1,000 words. She looked like somebody, a teenager, was going for a picnic. Told her, dress appropriately, smile, and she replaced the picture, and she said, oh, I can see the difference now. So make sure the picture is right, comment about the experiences, and you'll be surprised at the reaction that you get from the companies.
You're absolutely right. Family and friends and our children are important, but this is the professional story of you. So it should be your face. If you feel compelled to dress up for it, dress for the industry that you're trying to get a job in or where you're trying to provide products and services. We're going to have questions at the end of this because we've actually got some cool giveaways. So I've got socks that kick rocks. Let me open these. Maybe you can't see them. So we've got some socks that we're giving away. And these are not for only casual Monday, casual Tuesday, casual Wednesday, casual Friday. They're also for casual Saturdays. We've also got notebooks that we're giving away from LinkedIn. We've got special giveaways such as water bottles. So it's all going to be based on you answering questions at the end. So hopefully you stay engaged and that you continue to ask questions in the chat so that you can stand a chance to win some of these things. But let's continue. So in terms of our work experience, we've spoken about how we put in our title, how we outline the value, the results, and the impact we've had. You also have an opportunity to add rich media. This shows that your profile is dynamic. How do we do this? So maybe you worked for Standard Bank for a year, or maybe you did some work for MTN or Econet or whoever you're working for. You know those organizations have great content. They have photographs, they have videos that outline the things that they do, such as putting up a new network control center, or maybe even showing results of putting up new base stations, and maybe you're part of that project. So on your LinkedIn profile, to help the world understand the type of work that you are doing, you can add a link to maybe Econet's 2-minute video that shows who they are as an organization, or photographs that they maybe have published on their website. This will help start educating the person who's looking at your profile to understand a little bit more about the organization, to understand or to be curious, to want to meet you and say, I saw on your profile, you had this video, what was that all about? So in terms of examples of how to illustrate this and to tell this story, I'll put up an example here on screen. I'm not expecting you to read through it, but what it will start giving you is some ideas of how you to start outlining that. And like I said, what really gives you an advantage is to use terminology from your industry. Not to use acronyms as much, but to use what you've seen in job descriptions to help tell the story of how you've been building up all these foundations to get to this new aspirational role that you're seeking. All these building blocks in terms of experiences on how you've been building up credibility around certain areas that you want to be known for. Volunteer experience, we spoke about this earlier. Volunteer experience, like we said, helps tell the story of who you are as a person. I remember one time I asked one hiring manager, I said, what kind of people do you hire? And he says, I hire people I can be stuck in an elevator with. What does that mean? That means that I want people that are interesting. I want to know who you are as a person. And volunteer experience starts telling the story of who you are and what you stand for. And in fact, if you add your volunteer experience, your profile will get up to 6 times more views. What's more, you can add other things on your profile that help tell the story of you. What are those? Some of your honors, your awards, any publications you have done, the organizations that you've worked for, any languages that you speak. We're in a global economy. So which languages do you have proficiency on? Because that could be the game changer in terms of getting you into the room. Remember, your brand, and here's a good quote from Jeff Bezos, Amazon. He says, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So if you haven't told people about your awards, if you haven't told people about your certifications, if you haven't directed people to that external website you maintain, how will they know? They won't. What's more, on your profile, beyond just putting in a volunteer experience, you can see at the bottom here, it's highlighting my interests. What are those interests? The things that educate me and the things that form part of my feed on LinkedIn. So if you're not following that company you want to work for, recruiters can see that and they start wondering how serious you are about wanting to work in that industry or work for them. In terms of your certifications, on LinkedIn is where we go to highlight the certifications and skills we're acquiring from Mr. F's Academy, and other institutions. So add your licenses, add your certifications. In fact, the more you do it, the more you increase the chances of you being discovered. If you add certificates onto your profile, you are 9 times more likely to be shortlisted, brought in for interviews than the person who doesn't. Showing the world that you're investing in lifelong learning will help you get, again, identified by those recruiters, because they're looking at all types of soft, hard skills and behavioral skills that formulate the type of person they're looking to hire. And when you are showing those investments, here's what it's saying to a recruiter. If I brought you into our company today, I don't have to put you in a classroom. I know that if you joined us today, you're a lifelong learner. You're going to invest in how to do your job and to do it better. Leaders hire learners. Leaders hire learners. People who have a growth mindset. So on my profile, if I'm constantly showing the world that I'm investing in learning and acquiring skills, they know that I'm set for success in the world of work, because the world of work is dramatically changing around us. Skills that we have, the shelf life is less than 5 years. So if you're not investing in yourself, accessing these new opportunities is going to be difficult for you. And it's not just to say acquire hard skills that are associated with your job. It is to also acquire soft skills that holistically position you as a leader, as a collaborator, and a great communicator. Communication skills still remain the #1 skill wanted across all jobs. In terms of our skills, to transition over back to our profiles, I encourage you to add skills onto your profile. It says here 5, but I say do 10. What are the top 10 skills you want to be known for? And here's what the power of the LinkedIn network will do for you. When you add those 10 skills, those people you are connected to, and this is why I said, let's connect to people we know, because those people can endorse us. When they endorse us, they're telling recruiters that they have seen us exhibit those skills. So for a recruiter who is busy, and all recruiters are busy, when they're skimming through your profile and they see that 30, 40, 60, 80 people have endorsed you for security, they then know that you have the credibility. What's more, they can look at your recommendations, look at your certificates, look at your skills, and then bring you through as a shortlisted candidate for that interview. In terms of your accomplishments, again, if we add these into our profiles, such as the ability to speak multiple languages, etc., it will increase the number of views we will get. Look at this factor here. When a member has more than 1 language on their profile, they get up to 36 times more views from recruiters. So just having that dynamicness, I shrub. I got that word wrong. I'm human. I make mistakes. Churungu charamba.
Dynamism.
Exactly. Thank you, Ree. Thank you. Yeah. You want to show how dynamic you are. Thank you for stepping in for that. Now, I said to Mr. F earlier on that one of the areas people struggle with is writing that short summary, about section of themselves. And the way I want you to think about it is that it's the same as an elevator. You're getting into an elevator with someone who can hire you, someone who can give you a job, someone who can buy your products, your services, your solutions, someone who can introduce you to the hiring manager. And if that is the case, and we're going 10 floors up in this elevator, what are you going to say? You're likely to introduce yourself and to position the things that make you unique as an individual. And that is what our summary is on our LinkedIn profile. I want to share with you my results, my impact, who I am, and I want you to be curious enough when we get to the 10th floor for you to say, come into my office, let's talk. So it's not telling our full life story. On our summary, we want people to be curious, to be engaged, to want to know more about us. And that's why I said we need to own this part of our story in terms of making it personal. What journey are we on right now? What industries do we know about? And what results have we delivered in the past that will make someone perceive value? Remember I said our LinkedIn profiles is literally our business, me. I'm a business. So what value am I positioning that will make someone want to know more about me or want to engage me? In terms of a profile summary, like I said, there's over 930 million members on LinkedIn. There's over 11 million jobs on LinkedIn. Let us use both resources to understand what language is used in the jobs, and then also to understand how other professionals are positioning themselves. And let's write a succinct story about our brand, us, where we are, which journey we are on, a little bit about our past, what key skills, results, and impact have I had in the past that will make you want to meet me. And like I said, keep it as a first-person narrative. It's your story. Make it personable, make it human. Remember, this is being read very quickly by recruiters and hiring managers. So let's stick to the things that bring value and ultimately showcase us as being credible around the skills that organizations might be looking for. In terms of your summary, right, your about section, have a look at other people. How are they telling that story? This is probably the most dynamic part of your profile, because the journey you were on 2 years ago during COVID is different from the journey you're on right now. The things that you studied at university is totally different from the types of jobs and industries you want to work in. So in your about section, this summary, 40% of those who look at your, when people look at your profile, they'll spend 40% of their time looking at this section. So this is where we should dynamically tell the story that I studied law, but I'm now transitioning into cybersecurity. And that ultimately I want to do ethics. I want to manage ethics within cybersecurity space. So telling that story helps educate people that even though I studied something else, this is the journey I'm on. Likewise, if today you're working in a call center because that's the job that was available, if today you're delivering pizza because that's the job that's currently available, there's no shame in that. But in my summary, I'm telling the world that rather than sitting at home complaining, looking for a job, I am currently doing this, but my aspiration and my journey is taking me into this industry and these types of jobs. In terms of your LinkedIn profiles, this is where we get to celebrate other professionals and where other professionals get to celebrate us. And ultimately, like we said, we're looking to make the job of recruiters easier. How so? We're saying, this is who I am. Here's people who can attest to my skills, my experience, my qualifications. And at the same time, here's people I've recommended. Why is that important? Because when you join the world of work, or if you are working, you know we collaborate, you know we work together in that environment. So by showing my recommendations, the recruiter can attest to my credibility. By showing the people I've recommended, it shows that I'm a team player and I celebrate those who have helped me get to where I am today. So here's my homework for you. After this session, think back, who are the people who helped you get to where you are today? Those who lectured you, gave you volunteer experience, internships, jobs, whoever is powerful. Then I want you to give them a recommendation, attesting to what they did for you. It doesn't have to be a long thing, or you can just endorse them if you don't want to write a long thing. Then again, think about those who can influence your future. And I want you to request recommendations. You see here at the top, it says, ask for recommendations. And you see the little pencil where we can go and edit. And I'm actually holding a pencil. So ask for recommendations from those you worked with, those who educated you, those you've partnered with in the past. Do not trade recommendations. So it's not me going to Mr. F and say, please, can you write me a recommendation? And then 2 hours later, I write him one. It's cheesy. It shows itself. Recruiters can see it. Don't do it. When I seek a recommendation, I might say, Mr. F, please, can you give me a recommendation and highlight these 4 things? When he's going to say, yeah, I'll be happy to do it for you, but can you do one for me? I will explain why I won't do it for him. So be authentic about those you seek recommendations from and those that you give recommendations to, and make it easier for people to recommend you on things that matter. So right now, if I said, Mr. F, can you give me a recommendation? You'll be like, on what? Your hairstyle, your cap, your presentation skills, what? But however, I can then say on LinkedIn, Mr. F, please give me a recommendation based on the interaction we did with those that you mentor. And to make it easier for Mr. F, I might say to him, here is some suggested text. Feel free to use that or to put your own tone to it. So I will say in that text, I did a session for you which covered sub-Saharan Africa, where your mentored students were given life skills on how to hunt for jobs. The ultimate result is that people got jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So I can be prescriptive about what I want to be recommended on. So don't blindly ask for people to recommend you. Rather, ask people to recommend you on skills, on things that matter. So if I think of university, I want to reach back and say, dear Vice Chancellor X, you might not remember me. I graduated 7 years ago, but during the time I was there, I was in charge of this student body and we delivered this project. If you don't mind, please give me this recommendation in my profile because I'm seeking a leadership position. When a recruiter sees that, when a recruiter sees your recommendations, they're seeing the companies, the organizations who have recommended you. That brings about your credibility. Let's move on from recommendations because I want to now start summarizing and I want us to look at the jobs that are currently available. So for those who are job seekers, quick section for you. You will get access to the slides. You'll be able to look it up. But here's a couple of things on LinkedIn and how you can find jobs, because I know job searching is not easy. It can be stressful, but it is stressful when you're not strategic. I want you to come out of this session with some strategic ideas on how you can do job searching smarter. Number one, search for jobs where you know you have skills and experiences, and also leverage the filters that I'm about to show you to ensure that LinkedIn notifies you when jobs become available. Like I said, recruiters are busy. We want to ensure that when they post jobs, our profiles are ready for us to click to apply for those roles and that we're in the running for those economic opportunities. Now, in terms of a job seeker, I like to define the role of a job seeker as being a job. If you're looking for a job, you already have a job. Your job is to manage your time and energy wisely. You manage your time and energy wisely, you will succeed in this journey. How so? We choose the things we accept. We choose the things that will not work for us. We choose where we seek those jobs, and we use our time wisely to ensure that we've got the skills that are required for those jobs so that we are successful. What's more, we want to leverage LinkedIn to work for us as job seekers so that we don't have to do the hunting as much. So if you've been listening, like I said, you're following those organizations, you're connecting up with people in those industries who can help you understand those jobs a little bit more, and that you're actively leveraging the jobs platform to filter through and get alerts on jobs that matter to you. What's more, as part of your job is ensuring that you're networking and that your profile is up to date so that when people look it up, they understand the journey you're on. Most of the things we've covered today, recruiters can search against. Recruiters use filters. There are over 44 filters on the recruiter platform. What you're seeing here, normally people don't get to see. Let me make sure that you can see it in full. What you're seeing here are the filters available to recruiters that they use to identify talent as you. They look for you by company, by language, by experience, by graduation, by skills, whether you've applied for organizations before, whether you've said you're open for work. All of the things I've showed you today, ultimately recruiters use that to shortlist and identify you. And I'm going to show you how they leverage the platform to identify talent. But in short, those who are looking for jobs, you have an opportunity, like I said, on LinkedIn. As you can see on screen here, there's an open to work. Click on that little pencil. Tell people whether you're looking for a job. And for entrepreneurs, those who are looking to hire people, that's where you also start saying, hey, I'm actually looking to hire people. And also for those who are entrepreneurs and are looking for customers, this is where you also say, hey, I offer consultancy services. I'm willing to do volunteer activities and all sorts of other things. And I see Mr. Lee is changing his profile right away. This is not the time. We'll all get to work on our profiles later. I'm wrapping up. And remember, I have giveaways at the end of this, which will be based on questions. So if you're not listening, you stand to lose. All right, let's continue. In terms of being open for work, LinkedIn is making it easier for us. You have that digital badge where you say, I am open to work. Now, you can choose to let the whole world know you're open to work and what types of jobs and opportunities you're looking for. Or you can say, if people have subscribed to LinkedIn Recruiter, which is the recruiters in the world, 8 out of 10 recruiters are using LinkedIn because we have over 930 million members and no one else has that kind of membership in terms of professionals. When they use LinkedIn Recruiter, they can get to see what types of jobs you're interested in terms of titles. They can see the locations that you would be interested in. And this is where we say, I'm looking for jobs in Europe. I'm looking for jobs in Kenya. I'm looking for jobs in Australia. Not on our headline, we put it over here. What's more, we then get to say, I'm looking for full-time work, remote work, volunteer work. I'm looking to immigrate to new locations. And we also get to say the types of work styles that we're comfortable with. And we can share this just with those we're connected with, or we can share with recruiters only, or the whole world can see this. Remember, everything on your profile, you choose who gets to see it. And if you activate the open to work, you're going to get insights that will help you tell you how successful you have been in engaging recruiters that have looked at your profiles, hiring managers that might have looked at your profile. So it's already beginning to make the job search easier for you. In terms of job search, one area that I find people don't look at on their LinkedIn profiles is the settings. Remember, I said earlier on, LinkedIn would not exist without you. If you're not having a great experience, there is no LinkedIn. So under your job seeking preferences, you can choose to then say, I want to be notified this often. I want to be notified when opportunities become available. I want to then say, I'm looking for jobs where I can travel, jobs where I'm stationary in a country, etc. So go into your settings and edit those settings to make it give you the type of information that will help you identify the jobs that you need. Before I transition away from jobs, I want to just cover two things. Number one, in terms of preparing for interviews, if you go to the jobs tab on LinkedIn, it can give you sample interview questions so that you can prepare for those interviews and how to answer them. Number two, in terms of seeking those jobs, if you go again under the jobs tab, take time to use the filters to identify the jobs that you want to be alerted on. That's on jobs. You will get time and you will get information and a link after this, which will tell you a little bit more about searching for jobs. I want to start summarizing by highlighting a few things that you can do that will take you beyond your profile and help you get identified for jobs. So it's not just about creating a great profile, it's also about engaging on this network, sharing your thought leadership, adding your perspective on other people's posts, reposting content that you have found useful and engaging for yourself, sharing content, leveraging things such as hashtags. So if today you are going for a cybersecurity job and you're about to go for the interview and you got 10 minutes, how do you best prepare for it? Get onto LinkedIn, put in hashtag cybersecurity, and you'll find the content that has been shared by other professionals like yourself that are speaking, of course, about cybersecurity. On LinkedIn, you will have that opportunity to flesh out and share with the world the things you've learned, as we spoke about earlier. You are going to get these slides, and one of the things you will find is that there's several ways in which you can share content on LinkedIn, from posts to articles to videos. Feel free to explore all of this. LinkedIn, like I said, is a place where you're going to find professionals. When I post content on LinkedIn, I'm not looking to go viral. I'm not looking for the likes. No, what I'm looking for is people who repost my content. What I'm looking for is people that add to my content, people who educate me and share their perspective. And what I'm looking for is to see how many impressions I've had. Because professionals behave differently on this platform as they would on other platforms. On other platforms, it's easy to give you a quick like, etc. There's no association with my professional brand. Here, I tend to find people will read, consume your content. When you've earned the credibility, they'll start interacting with it. So yes, at first, it might feel like a bit of a quiet place, but seek to engage, seek to educate, and seek to build up that credibility with your network. Comment on other people's posts, share your opinion, keep it short, use visual images to bring it to life. That's why I'm wearing a cap today. One, because I'm having a bad hair day, and number two, because images grab people's attention. So after this, as you start thinking about your profile and building it, you're going to remember the guy with the long hat and a cap on from LinkedIn who gave you some tips. Images stimulate people being able to remember things. So as we post content on LinkedIn, are you using images to arrest the attention of people? Because here's the reality. We said people will scroll through a mile of content every day. And as they scroll through that content, what makes them stop scrolling is an image. That photograph of you and your client, that setup, that router that you've just set up. If it's not a corporate secret, you can share it on LinkedIn and say, here's a setup I've just done for an NGO as part of my volunteer activity. Here's 3 things that I learned. If you've got a limited budget and you've got a non-technical customer, here's things that I learned and I put in place to ensure that this environment works for this organization. Sharing that, I will also then say, as I share it, here's 3 things that I did. Guys, I know there's 2 other things I've missed out. What have I missed out? And then those I'm connected with will start sharing their perspectives. And when they share their perspectives, we start getting engagement. And like we said, we want to live rent-free in the minds of those who can recommend us and give us jobs. We've already spoken about this fact. Follow the companies you're interested in because recruiters can see. There are industry captains on LinkedIn. And I know you're seeing the word influencers and you're thinking of other social media influencers. Here at LinkedIn, we identify industry captains, and there's only a handful of leaders that have been recognized by LinkedIn that I recommend that you go and follow and start seeing what content they're sharing, because it will help you educate yourself around your industry or the areas that you want to grow into. There's over 1.5 million groups on LinkedIn. Join the groups for cybersecurity professionals in the UK. That's where you want to work, right? Or in America, or in South Africa, or in Zimbabwe. Join those groups. And in those groups, you're looking to further your credibility. You're not looking to join a group and say, hi, I'm looking for a job. No, you're looking to say, what are the industry challenges? Why would people hire? What are some of the new technologies? And as you interact there, you're learning. For those who are entrepreneurs, I've seen people enter into groups and say, here's a hypothetical situation that my company is looking to solve for. What do you believe as other cybersecurity specialists I should also look out for? So it's a free business consultancy where you're getting like-minded professionals that are going to give you some advice and some tips. And as you share content on LinkedIn, go back and look at the analytics. Who's reading it? Which industries are they in? Should these be people I'm connected to? Should these be companies I should think about wanting to work for? I want to summarize by saying those of you who are students, I know most of us are already mentors to Mr. F's Academy. For those of us who are students and are looking for jobs, LinkedIn has analyzed over 4.5 million graduates and looked to say what helped them get jobs within the first 6 months of graduating. What helped them is, number one, work experience. On your profile, being able to outline your work experience using terminology that speaks to what companies are seeking as value, that helps. And if you've worked for a family business or you've volunteered, flesh out the skills, the impact, and the results that you had that will help surface your profile. Number two, a connection, knowing someone, and not connection in the social sense, but people we're connected to that work in those companies. I say a minimum of 5 people that work in that company. They might not be the people to hire me, but those people I can reach out to and say, I see your organization posted a job. Just want to know, why did the last person leave? What kind of things would I be expected to do in that job? What kind of skills can I bring to the table that will make your hiring manager or your recruiter want to hire me? So having those credible connections to understand organizations and challenges and jobs will set you up for success. And that's why I'm saying strategically on LinkedIn, connect with people that are in your industry, connect with people that you know, earn the right to ask for recommendations and to ask for jobs. In fact, don't even ask for a job. One of my pet peeves is when people reach out and say, hey, Stuart, what jobs are at LinkedIn? It gets to me. Why? You're on LinkedIn. Have you researched? Have you seen if I can employ you? Am I a hiring manager? Do I have a team underneath me? Take the time to earn the credibility, to reach out to someone to understand more about their journey and put into context, I am looking for a job with your company, but I'm seeking more information that will help set me up for success with your institution. So that's how we do it. And here's a quick slide that speaks to, of course, the point that I made earlier on, that if you keep investing in skills and adopt the mindset of a lifelong learner, here's what it does for you in terms of finding jobs. As you add those skills, you're increasing your chances of being discovered by a factor of 9%. If you do skills assessments, so let's say on LinkedIn, there's a skills assessment around Cisco networking, and you do that Cisco networking skills assessment, you earn a digital badge, you increase your chances of being shortlisted and hired by an additional 20%. So just by adding those skills, doing the skills assessment, you're already giving yourself a 29% advantage over someone else who hasn't. In terms of where do we get these skills? You've got Mr. F's Academy that's providing you with some of those hard skills that you need. In terms of some of the holistic soft skills, LinkedIn Learning provides some of those. And we've got some exciting announcements to make around LinkedIn Learning, but we'll do that when we look at the jobs and look at who's the winner for the questions we're about to ask. Now, we've covered a lot. I know it's a lot to take in. And I'm not expecting you to remember all of it, but I am expecting you to remember some of the things that we can give you, rewards, and of course, some of these cool giveaways from LinkedIn. There's other ways for you and me to connect. As you can see on screen, there's a couple of QR codes. What are these QR codes? First of all, in terms of learning how to build out your profile and how to search for jobs or how to market your business or how to further leverage LinkedIn, I have a YouTube site where you can go in and find topics around finding jobs, about how to be a cybersecurity professional, how to be an AI engineer. All of those are available off my YouTube channel. On Twitter, I'll tend to share some of the events that we're hosting and some of the tips that are great for job seekers to think of in mind. As I mentioned earlier on, in my day job, I get to work with universities, colleges, polytechnics, and students. So I've curated some information for those of you who are early on your career journey that are looking to enter into the world of work. In the bottom left-hand corner there, You'll find how to build a profile as a student, how to network as a student, how to apply for an internship as a student. You'll find those resources. And last but not least, on the right-hand side over there, you will find a QR code that will connect us on LinkedIn. With that said, I want to stop the presentation. I want to check in if there's any questions, and then I want to just show where those jobs are so that you will now understand that as you're searching, as you're doing all of these things, there's actually jobs. And I want to show you how much those jobs pay. Hopefully that will motivate you. Mr. F, do we have any questions?
Right, so far, I don't see any questions yet. Maybe it's a sign that, you know, you are an excellent presenter and it's being well assimilated, which means that, you know, your questions should get, you know, a lot of good responses from people who have understood very well. But okay, I probably have just one question myself.
Yeah.
If I can shoot
while go ahead.
Somebody's thinking of a question. There's an important point that you did mention,
right?
Which, mentioned using the correct industry language as you're building your profile. Now, my question is, somebody who's just probably set up their profile or who's got an existing profile that they want to improve, how can they pick up the correct industry language and where can they pick it up?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that one. Is that so? In terms of outlining our profiles and ensuring that the things we put in our profile allow us to be identified and found, there's a couple of things we can do. Number one, in our headline, if we use industry terminology, it helps us get surfaced. Number two, our about section, it'll help us get surfaced. Our work experience using that terminology, again, it further strengthens it. So if I've talked about cybersecurity, from my headline to my introduction, to my work experience, to my education, definitely the algorithms are going to pick me up. Where do I get that knowledge? On LinkedIn. I'm going to look up jobs that I see and see what language they're using. I'm also going to leverage other people's profiles. So I might say, who's head of cybersecurity in this bank? I look at their profile, what language and terminology, who's head of cybersecurity in this telco? I look at what they've put in, and then I look at that knowledge and say, which of these are resonating with me? Which of these can I borrow one or two words that authentically speak to my journey as an individual and the journey that I'm on? So that's where we get this, is by looking at job titles, looking at the jobs that are posted, and also looking at other professionals' profiles on LinkedIn. So that's where we get that information. But here's the thing, let us be authentic. Don't lie. Don't kill your reputation by cutting and pasting and using someone else's profile as if it's yourself. Number two, don't have multiple profiles. There's only one you. One you. So no multiple profiles. Number three, there is no such thing as a perfect profile. What there is great profiles. So don't seek perfection. There's a lot that I said we can put on our profiles. Find that good energy. Invest that time to update your profile, maybe section by section. But if you're really in a hurry, set time aside and then do it. After you've looked at how other people have done it, use some of the things that I've shared today to build out your profile. Life's not perfect. It will never be, and no will be your profile. So stop taking that pressure off yourself and just start working with what you've got and start that journey of telling your story. I'll take one more question before we look at jobs, Mr. F.
Okay, Tinashe says, what are the advantages of the paid version?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't cover that, did I? Yeah, so here's the thing. You know, you've heard about LinkedIn Premium. So LinkedIn Premium, essentially what it is, and I'm sure some of you have seen invitations for it, is for you to have a premium experience. It will give you insights into jobs. So not only will it say, for example, there's a cybersecurity job that's available, but it'll then say, here's the skills that you have as an individual. Here's how closely matched you are to that opportunity. And then what it will then also tell me is how many people have applied for that job. So it is going there to educate me so that I'm not randomly applying for many jobs. It's saying, Stuart, out of the 10 skills they're looking for, you only have 4, right? So where are the other 6? Either I can go back to my profile and update it, or I can invest in getting those skills and update my profile so that I can apply for future jobs. It is also telling me that 17 people have applied for this job, and the 17, 15 of them have MBAs. And if that's a criteria, I know I need to work on my MBA in order to get that job, right? It's also telling me the geographical locations where people are applying for those jobs, so I know what kind of competition I have. With the premium version, it's also telling me how often that company hires, and if it's hiring similar people to myself. So those insights, if you are a job seeker, they will help you know more about the job, know which jobs to apply for, and what's more, give you access to the 20,000 courses that we offer as LinkedIn. So that's the difference between the paid and the free version. Any questions regarding the premium? Any other questions, or can we go on to the demo?
Maybe one quick one. I could have answered it, but I felt maybe it's better if you answer it.
Oh, sure.
I think Tony Rai says, how can you get, sorry about that. He said, can you upload a CV to your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, so nice simple question. You can upload a CV, or for those who are entrepreneurs, you can upload the common things people ask you about. What does your company do? What value do you provide? What products do you provide? So if you know people are always asking you that and you don't even have a website yet, on your LinkedIn profile, you can put an infographic, you can put a video, you can put a small PowerPoint that highlights your product, services, or solutions. Likewise, you can even put your resume. So what does that mean? That means that if I meet someone on a social basis, I meet someone in the street, I meet them at a wedding, I meet them at church, and that person says, hey, I think the skills you have might be of interest to us, I am immediately say, do you want to connect? I don't have a business card. Do you want to connect on LinkedIn? I connect. And by the way, while you're on LinkedIn, here's what my company does. I don't even need a PowerPoint projector anymore. I don't even need to do a demo. Right there, right now, I'm showing them my CV. I'm also showing them the skills, the experience, the impact. I'm showing them videos, etc. So yes, you can upload rich media to your profile. I encourage you to do it. If you know the things people are always asking you about, have them on your profile as documents, as attachments, because then you can socialize what you do anytime, anywhere. Right? We got that? Mr. F, shall we look at jobs?
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead, and then we can always pick up questions if we still have time. And also, guys, I encourage you, after this presentation, if you go to Stuart's YouTube channel, right, you will be able to get answers to a lot of the stuff that we that you have discussed, or any questions that have not been addressed as well.
Superb. And Mr. F, if you can start putting through, of course, some of those who have an opportunity to join part of your membership, if you can start putting that in the chat so people can access this. But essentially now we're right at the end of this. We're going to wrap out shortly. But what I wanted to do is to show you how recruiters work, or how companies identify you. What they do is they partner up with us and they leverage this platform that most of you haven't seen in the past. This platform is called Talent Insights. And what I've done with Talent Insights is I've gone in to say, if I was studying today with Mr. F's Academy and I was looking for a job, what jobs would be available to me? Now, in terms of some of the things that we can search for, I just want to show you what it looks like. Is that I could have searched by skills, by experience. I can search for people by geography. I can search for people based on degrees. I can search for people based on years of experience. So that's what I can do in terms of finding talent like yourself. So I've pre-populated some of these, and I wanted to highlight, based on the skills that you're acquiring from Mr. F's Academy, what you can come to expect. So let me zoom in here for a bit. So I've said in Africa, if today I had these networking skills, and you can see some of these skills that some of you are acquiring from Mr. F's Academy, what does the world of work look like in Africa? So what we're seeing is that there's 2 million people that have skills like this, like yourself. We're seeing that 333,000 of them have recently changed jobs. So there is market momentum, meaning when people change jobs, there's opportunities for you to get those jobs. And what's more, it's telling me that this sector of networking specialists has grown by 53%. So if today you're on this call and you're trying to decide, should I invest in networking skills? Look at that. It's grown by 53% in the last 12 months. What's more, it's beginning to tell me there's 33,000 jobs across Africa for network administrators. And who is hiring them? These are the companies, and I'm sure you recognize some of the logos. These are the locations, as in the countries where those jobs are. These are the skills they require. And these are the sort of business functions where those jobs exist. And you can see these jobs have been updated as early as 2 days ago, 3 days ago. There's over 33,000 jobs. And in terms of those jobs, when companies are looking for you, here's what they get to look at. Number one, from a skills perspective, and this is why I said make time for learning, always be learning, and adopt that culture of a lifelong learner. Because when they are recruiting, they'll also be going into it with a mindset to headhunt and a mindset to identify talent like yourself that has got exceptional skills. So right now in Africa, we're seeing that here's the most common skills other network administrators have across the continent. So these are the skills you're seeing here. Here's the number of professionals, the number of jobs that are associated with that skill, and the companies that are currently hiring. And I'm sure you can recognize some of these regional brands that some of you might have interacted with in the past. What's more, companies have an opportunity to understand what are the fastest growing skills. This is why if you're investing in skills in yourself, you're going to be able to say, if I have these fast growing skills, I will stand a better chance of getting these jobs. So these are some of the other skills, be it behavioral, be it soft or hard skills that other people like yourself have invested in terms of ensuring they're closer to jobs. In terms of identifying you and finding you as talent, companies, again, look at titles that are associated with our industries and post jobs based against those titles. What's more, companies have an opportunity to see who else they're competing with. What does this mean to you? So for example, here, if we're looking at networking jobs, we can see the biggest employer in this space in Africa is currently Old Mutual, PwC, and Deloitte, and Valeo. These will be the top companies that currently are seeking people in this space. Sorry, these are, actually it's based on the number of jobs. What's more is that companies have the opportunity, beyond looking at who they will compete with. I just want to move over to one more tab here. If I just get rid of this screen here, they have an opportunity to say, which industries are they likely to face the most competition from if they're looking to hire you as talent? What does this mean to you as an individual? In terms of broadening your thinking and where to find jobs, by understanding where industries have the most demand, you will then understand where you're most likely to be hired. So we can see for networking skills, it's banking, telco, finance, and computer software that tend to have the highest demand. And if we're to invert and see based on jobs, we see that, of course, recruitment companies have most of the jobs, and that we have other organizations that have high demand. So all these things that we're putting in our profiles help recruiters look at sort of our education and understand which schools are producing talent like ourselves. Also, when recruiters look at these, at our profiles, they get to understand what will motivate us and drive us to seek jobs. So what we're looking at here is the jobs in Africa for network administrators. Now, Let's have a look at the same jobs, what opportunities would have in the US. Now, if you follow with me, we said in Africa, there's 33,000 jobs. The demand for your skills in Africa is relatively low and easy to hire. Recruiters can see that 2 million people are currently open for opportunities and that they're seeking contract work like yourself. But if you were to take the same skills and were to look at the US, so I've just put in now, in terms of location, I've said US. What we're seeing is that there's 12 million people with skills like yourself. There's over 2 million people that have changed jobs in that 12 million. And there are over 2 million jobs in the US related to network administration or network management. And that the demand, unlike Africa, is extremely high. What's more, just for your purposes, I will show you which companies are hiring in this space. But here's something more important. You're beginning to see, if you were to go to the US today, with those skills you're getting from Mr. F's Academy, you will be paid, says here, total compensation. The range or the average you get paid is $105,000 to $197,000 per annum. So you're beginning to understand that the investments you're making in your education today, how you be able to recoup those investments in the future, should you get a job in the US. So you normally wouldn't get to see this. I know a couple of people are saying, how do I get to see this? Typically, it's organizations, it's NGOs, it's, of course, social enterprises and companies that would invest in this. For those of you who are also sitting saying, how much would this cost, even if I wanted to buy it or get access to it? It's average $12,500 per year for you to have access to these insights. So it's quite a bit. But I am showing you so that you can start understanding how these insights start informing us of where economic opportunities lie, and that the things we're doing today, how they will pay us in the future. So that was on network administration. As you can see in the US, there's a mix of companies that are hiring in this space. And of course, we can also get to see the companies that are growing and are losing talent in this space. Now I want to move over to looking at our security jobs. So what am I looking at here? This is still just the networking jobs. Right, so if I move over to security jobs in Africa, right? So 2 million people, I've put in here the types of things that you'd have as skills you'd acquire from Mr. F's Academy: cloud computing, networking, security, security operations. These are the skills you acquire from being in Mr. F's Academy. If you were to look for a job in Africa, here's what it looks like. There's over 34,000 jobs currently available. These are the companies that are currently advertising these jobs, the locations, the functions, and the types of skills that they're looking for. Again, across Africa, we can look at it and sort of say, which are the companies, first of all, that are employing this type of talent, but which are the companies that have the most jobs? So we're seeing here the likes of Old Mutual, PwC, Deloitte, ABSA are some of the top companies. Different from what we saw on networking, but I see some organizations have been consistent in terms of looking for talent. So if you're watching this session, I would have started following Old Mutual, for example, on LinkedIn. Now, these are the number of jobs available from these organizations. But if we're to look at the same criteria, and I'm just going to go over here and say, I'm not looking in Africa anymore, but I just want to have a look at jobs in the US that are related to security. It now shows me, or I could have put in UK, I could have put in any location there. It now shows me that there's over 13 million professionals. It's growing by 31% year on year, 2.2 million jobs available. Your talent, your skills is highly in demand. The companies that are hiring in this space, as you can see, are here, including my own parent company, Microsoft. The types of salaries they're paying, the breakdown, the ranges of salary, benefits, etc. You can already start seeing that. So that's what I wanted to show you in terms of economic opportunities and the way that people go about identifying people like yourself, and of course, how these insights ultimately feed into your economic success. That's it from me, Mr. F, in terms of showing people jobs. Now I just want to close up already answering questions that people have, and yeah, first just providing more information.
Fantastic, fantastic. On behalf of Mr. F's mentorship group, I would like to thank you so much, Stuart. I think there's just been a wealth of information. And like you said, the important thing is to act upon this. So as I was listening to this, I was actually thinking that, you know, we need to as a mentorship group, do some practical sessions, you know, some before and after profiles, work on some profiles together, and then look at how we can improve them, and then see the results over the coming months on how that improvement can help people get good opportunities.
And that's it. Let's remain authentic in terms of telling our stories, connecting to people we know. Now, on LinkedIn, you can connect to people you know, but you can also follow people you don't know. So it's pointless for you to try and connect to a recruiter or a hiring manager that doesn't know you. Rather, follow them. When you follow them, when they post, you get to see what they're posting. You get to interact with the post, add your opinion. Pretty soon, they're going to become curious on who you are. And when you now reach out to connect, they will most likely accept that connection. And when you do connect to people, don't just click the connection button. Give me a reason to connect. Hi, Stuart. I attended this session. I think we can both grow if we continue to exchange ideas, opportunities by connecting on LinkedIn. Give me a reason, then I'm more likely to accept it. Just clicking connection button in your random name, chances are those executives will not accept your connection and it will frustrate you. So reach out and connect to people you know and follow people you don't know. And when you've earned the credibility, then you can ask to connect with them. I'll put up those resources that you can scan, take a photograph, but my challenge for you is each one teach one. What did you learn today that you're going to tell a cousin, a brother, a fellow student, someone who missed this session? And how are you going to tell them? On WhatsApp, on Twitter, on LinkedIn? Tell them, help people. Like I said, if you want to be successful in terms of growing your personal brand, seek to educate, seek to engage, seek to empower other people, seek to excite other people, and then, of course, sometimes seek to entertain people on this professional platform. That's it from me, Mr. Lee.
Thank you so much. There's some slides that you promised. How do we get those? Are you going to give them to me so that I can pass them on?
Absolutely not. They scan the QR codes. Those slides are already there. It's time for those questions, right? Time for those giveaways. Let's do it. And of course, these giveaways will be shipped to you. So if you've stayed on this long, thank you, thank you, thank you. What you need to do in terms of answering these questions is put it into the chat, right? Because if I ask people to come off mute, it will take time for other people. And of course, it won't be fair. So for the first question, nice and simple, how many members are there on LinkedIn right now? Closest to the number, put it into the chat. Mr. F, are you monitoring and looking at those questions? I mean, those answers. How many members are there on LinkedIn to win some of these cool socks?
Blessing says 930 million.
Whoa! We got a winner. We've got a winner. That's it. Blessing, you win. Next one, guys. And I'm asking you here to pay attention and be quick on that keyboard. Next question is, every single minute, how many people get hired on LinkedIn? Every single minute, how many people get hired on LinkedIn?
Tinashe says 8, Tonderai Matosi says 3.
Tinashe, you're a winner. 8 people get hired every single minute. There is a job for you. How many jobs are on LinkedIn? At any given time.
Says 11 million.
Who said that?
Frida.
Frida, that wasn't a question for a prize. Good answer. You were correct, but I'm not giving you anything. No, I'm kidding. You will get a prize, but it wasn't one of the questions, trick questions I was asking, but well done for answering it. You're definitely going to get something. Get into the chat, tell Mr. F your email, your physical address so you can receive your prize. Here's the question for you. Every single second, how many new members are joining LinkedIn?
Ooh, we've got let's see, Charlie P says 3.
Perfect. Charlie, you are a winner. Charlie P, you are going to receive something from us. It could be a hat, it could be a cap, it could be socks, it could be pens, it could be anything, but it will be a surprise. Definitely get into the chat and tell Mr. F your address so that we can ship those goodies up to you.
Yeah, the winners, they can just pick up my email address from the charts there that I've shared, and please just email me, and then I'll just confirm with the recording, and we'll ship out your prizes.
That's it from us. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. F has been sharing in the chat, of course, ways that you can join up from a mentorship perspective, how you can acquire networking skills and how you can acquire security skills. Definitely follow up on those. This is the first of many sessions we'll be hosting, talking about how to help you gain access to those hard skills, soft skills, behavioral skills, and get access to jobs. What I want is for you to go out there to find opportunities. But more importantly, I want opportunities to find you, because it's time to shine. Time to shine as a professional by telling our story, positioning our skills and experiences, and highlighting those investments we're making in ourselves that make us credible professionals. Thank you very much for staying on right until the end. I know it was a long session, but we will post the replay afterwards.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you so much, everybody who attended, and we'll actually make sure that the recording is available to all.
That's it. You're being released. You're free to go. Any feedback would greatly appreciate it. And thanks again for joining. Mr. F, I will now stop the recording.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Then we
maybe
can.
there's just one excellent feedback that we got from somebody here. Let me just find it. It was Kudzai. I think he did say something here.
Well, as long as people got value, I think that's ultimately what we want, right? Is people to walk out and gain something new that they didn't know.
Yeah, anyway, Kudzai just said, you know, he appreciates so much the presentation, and he said it was a great presentation from Stuart. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same as well. So thank you so much, Stuart. Time to shine, like you said. Stay blessed, my man.
Definitely, we'll reconnect afterwards then, and I'll share with you some of the comments and, of course, some of the recordings that we got from the session.